Hi all, in this video we will try to understand Taurus ascendant. Taurus is an earth sign, so Taurus people generally are the pleasure seekers. They are involved in materialistic pursuits mainly. They are basically and fundamentally materialistic in nature. So enjoying the life to the fullest extent is the main goal of their life. If the Sun and Jupiter are fairly strong in the chart, they may have some spiritual pursuits also. Because Sun represents the fourth house lord and Jupiter represents the eighth house lord. Fourth house represents the seed of moksha or spirituality, and eighth house represents the spiritual transformation or flowering of the spirituality. So, fourth house is very important for them. Even more, it is the Sukhasthana. It is the representation of property, mother, and also vehicles. It represents the emotional happiness also. So if Sun is very strong in their chart, they can overcome any kind of challenges in their life. And Jupiter is the 8th house lord here. Of course, Jupiter is also the lord of 11th house. But if you observe, Jupiter's Mula Trikona house is Sagittarius. So Jupiter gives more importance to Sagittarius compared to Pisces, because Sagittarius is the duty performing house of Jupiter. So if this particular Jupiter is very strong in their chart, they may get a lot of free money also, the ancestral property also. Because 8th house represents the unaccounted money. It represents the money that you get by bribery or by doing any kind of bad deeds. If you get some money, that is also 8th house. Any kind of unaccounted money or black money and everything is representation of is present in 8th house only. So in olden days, this particular 8th house was regarded as a bad house because it consists of lot of unaccounted money, and having lot of unaccounted money is the representation of not following dharma. So olden days dharma was given more priority, but if you observe in the current society, if anybody is earning money for free without doing any work, then it is treated as a great thing. So maybe in this yuga, that is the Kali Yuga, 8th house is very important, you may say. And for them, the 5th house Lord Mercury is also very important. If Mercury is very strong as a beneficial Lord, it gives them a lot of analytical thinking, analytical in approach also. And the 10th house, if you observe, represents Aquarius, consisting of lot of technological energy. Aquarius basically represents technological energy, and Saturn is the lord of it. Saturn's Mula Trikona house is also Aquarius. So if this particular Saturn is very fairly present, very strongly present in their chart, then they may go to engineering related activities. Whether they study engineering or not, if Saturn is very good, their approach, their way of thinking is a kind of engineering the stuff. Everything is engineering. Even if they want to do a small activity, they may try to engineer the stuff first and then they will try to act upon it. So it is a very good indication if Saturn is very nicely placed in their chart. And if you observe, another one is the functional malefic planets of this particular ascendant. Mars, Venus and Jupiter are the functionally malefic planets for Taurus ascendant. You may get amazed by seeing Venus as the functionally malefic planet here, because see, Venus is the lord of the 6th house. Of course, is the lord of the ascendant, but Venus Mula Trikona house is in Libra, not in Taurus. So Venus gives more priority to perform the significations of 6th house, that is debts, enemies and diseases. So Venus is a malefic planet for them. So they have to perform some propitiations in order to avoid the negative effects of Venus. And Mars as the 12th lord is also malefic. If you observe, for Taurus ascendant people, Moon also has the capacity to define their ascendant related energy, and that's why for Taurus ascendant people, moon is regarded as a second ascendant kind of thing. So moon's energy consists of the elements to define their body. And the profession, for profession, Saturn is the lord for them. And for marriage, Sun is the lord. And for health, Venus is the lord of health for them. And the functionally malefic planets cause sufferings whenever they form exact or close transit or natal conjunction or aspects with weak natal positions. So, whenever you see Venus or Jupiter or Mars is actually present at, at degrees equivalent to ascendant degrees, then that particular house is going to be impacted more. I will explain you this. See, what is a sensitive degree actually? In every horoscope, there is a concept called sensitive degree. Your ascendant degree is the sensitive degree of each and every house. If you have 16 degrees Taurus ascendant, let us say, so that 16 degrees is going to be very sensitive in every house, in second house or third house or fourth house, in each and every house, that ascendant degree is very sensitive. So whenever a functionally malefic planet is present at that particular degree, that house significations are going to be spoiled very closely, right? So that is the most important thing. Even in the transits, if you observe any functionally malefic planet is transiting at a particular degree equivalent to your ascendant degree, a triggering of event would happen in that particular point of time. So occurrence of good and bad events in life are comparatively more for Taurus ascendant people. I will explain you why. Because you are already seeing three functionally malefic planets, that is Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and you need to check the dignity of Rahu and Ketu in the birth chart. So Rahu and Ketu's dignity depending upon the sign in which they are placed, and also the lord of the sign in which they are placed, and also if there are any conjunctions with Rahu and Ketu, they are going to be, that is also going to decide the behavior of Rahu and Ketu. So apart from Rahu and Ketu itself, they have Mars, Venus, and Jupiter as functionally malefic planets. So whenever these planets transiting in the current transits, also if they are transiting the degrees equivalent to ascendant degrees, they may try to trigger some bad events in their life. And one more thing is Manglik Yoga. Manglik Yoga shows its impact in full as the Mula Trikona sign of Mars falls in the 12th house for Taurus ascendant. So Aries is the Mula Trikona house for Mars, and it is the 12th house for Taurus ascendant guys. So definitely a Manglik Yoga, if they have the particular Manglik dosh, it's going to be a bit more impactful, you can say, because the 12th lord is Mars. It's going to show its malefic impacts if these guys have some Manglik dosh. And one advantage for these guys is Sadesati. Sadesati may not be very bad for them, because Saturn's transit is not auspicious for these guys, as Saturn is the Yoga Karaka planet. Because Saturn is the lord of the 10th house. 10th house is a very beneficial house, so it may not be very harmful for them. So Sadesati. So if you want to know Sadesati, what is it? Sadesati lasts for 7.5 years for everyone, right? For anybody. So let us take moon is in some house, like moon is in Cancer for a guy, right? So when Saturn comes to Gemini, so Gemini, Cancer, and Leo. So moon is in Cancer. So if you observe, the Saturn is coming to Gemini. The moment Saturn comes to Gemini, Gemini is one above the Cancer, and Leo is one below the Cancer. So Sadasati lasts for 7.5 years for this particular Cancer moon when Saturn comes to Gemini. That is, in Gemini it stays for 2.5 years, and in Cancer it stays for another 2.5 years, and in Leo also it stays for another 2.5 years. So totally 7.5 years. So Sadasati is nothing but Saturn's transit, one above the moon sign and one below the moon sign and one in the moon sign. So the totally three, right? So each one is nothing but 2.5 years. So totally it is 7.5 years, right? So this is how it works. And for these guys, Sadasati is not so uh, inauspicious. It's normal for them, right? Because Saturn is a very good planet for these guys. So whenever transit Saturn forms a close conjunction or aspect with strong natal functional benefic planets, it is also going to trigger a very happy event in their lives, because Saturn is a yoga karaka planet for these guys, right? So what are the benefic planets for these people? If you observe, Mercury is one benefic planet, right? Because Mercury is a lord of the fifth house. It's a very benefic planet. Sun is, of course, it is the primary benefic planet for these guys because it's a lord of the fourth house. And Saturn is another Yogakaraka planet as a lord of the 10th house. So these three planets are very important for these guys. So let us say Saturn and Mercury are meeting in a particular house in the current transit at degrees equivalent to ascendant degrees of this particular Taurus ascendant. Your Taurus ascendant, let us say it is 15 degrees, and at 15 degrees in the 10th house, let us say in the current transit, this Saturn and Mercury are meeting. So it's going to generate a very good positive energy for them in the profession. So they may get a very great job during that time. So that is the triggering of happy incidents or events whenever the Saturn is coming closer to any other Yogakaraka planet, right? So even Saturn and Sun, if they are meeting at some degrees, of course Saturn and Sun are completely two opposite planets. If you observe a solar system, also Sun is at the center, and after that you can identify Mercury and then Venus, and then you have Earth, and Moon is a natural satellite, and then Mars, and then Jupiter, and finally you have Saturn. Saturn is an extrovert planet. It is an external planet also, right? And if you observe Sun is at the center. It is an introvert planet, and also it's the primary, the internal planet. So Sun's behavior and Saturn's behavior are completely two opposites. So you can always say Sun and Saturn are two opposite things, but for these guys, when Sun and Saturn are meeting, even though there is a kind of little bit friction you observe, but still it is going to trigger a very good event in the current transits. So that's one of the best thing that can happen to Taurus ascendant guys. And mainly you need to observe the Mula Trikona house and the lord of that Mula Trikona house and where it is, and the Mula Trikona sign is falling in a 6, 8, 12, or it is falling in 4, 5, 9, right? This kind of things only going to decide your strength of horoscope. So as Venus is a functionally malefic planet for these guys, and any kind of close conjunction of Venus with Sun and Mercury is going to disturb their marital life, and also the progeny matters as well, because fifth lord is Mercury. So if Venus is coming and meeting this Mercury, so it's going to spoil Mercury. Mercury is related to progeny. Of course, it is a fifth lord for these guys. It also represents the undergraduation, the romantic life, and also the creativity of these guys. And Mercury also represents the communication, the analytical thinking of these guys, right? So Venus, if coming in conjunction in the birth chart, it may not be very auspicious. It's going to disturb the progeny also, and marital life even. So Taurus natives born in the last quarter of the year around sunset time are the worst affected in their marital harmonious relations and progeny matters. So this is a main practical observation anyone can make if you observe a lot of charts. So in the last quarter of the year, so take any year, in the last quarter of the year means you can say that is December, November, September. October, November and December, right? These 3 months, October, November, December, in the evening time, in the sunset time, if a person is taking birth and that person's ascendant is Taurus, then you can clearly observe if you observe a lot of horoscopes, you will clearly understand they are the people that actually have some kind of marital disharmony. Such placement of the planets is also inauspicious, right, for the parents, for the Taurus born people. So these people suffer or enjoy from both short lived and long lived events in life, just because they have more functionally malefic planets, and at the same time the planets like Saturn, Mercury, Sun, these are the benefic planets. And you can always see Sun is a bit, it's not as fast as Moon, but it stays in every sign, it stays only for 1 month. So there is a triggering of good events also for these guys. Whenever Sun is meeting Mercury, they have some good things happening related to the house in which they are meeting in the current transits, right? So a strong, unafflicted and well placed Sun is very important for them. It is going to bless the native with every good thing in life, because Sun is the primary benefic planet for Taurus ascendant people. It's going to give you a lot of things: affluent parents, good education, good assets, comfort, status, help from government, good health, good stomach health, good brains health, everything, right? So this even makes up for other non-serious afflictions or weaknesses. If Sun is very good, they may get out of all the problems. That is a very good thing for Taurus ascendant guys. Sun is the primary beneficial planet for them. If Sun is supporting these guys, they are going to achieve very great heights in their lives. So a strong, unafflicted and well-placed moon gives rise to many initiatives, because you can see moon is the third lord for them. So third house always represents your initiatives, your self-efforts, your own efforts you make, and the short distance travels, and the kind of initiatives you take in your life. So if moon is very nicely placed, right, so you will try to take the initiatives to fulfill your desires, right? Because third house is so there are four things, right? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. In that you can clearly see dharma is the first house, artha is the second house, and kama is the third house, and moksha is the fourth house, right? And then you can see, you can repeat it 5, 6, 7, 8, again dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So seventh house is again the kama, and also 11th house is also the kama house. So 3, 7, 11 forms the trio here. Third house is the seed of your desire, and seventh house is the flowering of your desire, and 11th house is the fulfillment of your desire. So if third house is very good, you will take the initiatives, you will seed, the seed is going to be very strong. If your third lord is very strong, your third lord is moon, so definitely if your moon is strong, then you're going to take a very great initiatives in your life, right? So once the third lord is very good, the Taurus ascendants always aspiring or achieving a very happy change. That's the meaning, right? Because your seed is very strong, and then your seventh lord is also very strong, and then the 11th house is also very strong. Then you're going to achieve everything in your life. The fulfillment of desires happen this way. Similarly, I will tell you, strong, unafflicted, and well-placed Mercury makes a Taurus born highly analytical and inventive. So this Mercury is very, very functionally benefic for you guys, right? So just check the Mercury strength in your horoscope. If Mercury is very good, then your analytical approach and analytical thinking is in the next level, you can always see. The placement of the sign Libra is only the, it is the house of diseases. Actually, it is the sixth house for you, right? Causes of sufferings actually by diseases is signified by the planet Venus, right? That is the main thing. And so the sign Libra and the seventh house, right? Seventh house, of course, it is related to Scorpio. We'll talk about marriage in a minute. So the marriage significator for you guys is the Sun. It's not the Mars. It's not the Lord of the seventh house here. For you guys, it is Sun. If your Sun is very nicely placed, your marriage is going to be very good, right? So that is one thing. And a weak and afflicted Mercury, of course, it's not at all a good thing because it's going to give you some unstable thinking, nervous weaknesses. It causes a lot of sufferings, and even in the progeny related matters, you may experience some kind of bad things because fifth house Lord is your Mercury. So Taurus being born people, however, forget the unhappy instants in their lives early. Very quickly they can forget the unhappy instants and they can come back with a lot of positive energy. That is the general behavior of Taurus ascendants because they are mainly, the chilled guys, because Taurus ascendant, the Venus related behavior, the materialistic behavior is always present for these guys, right? Favorable colors, if you observe, the white, green, silver, blackish blue, pink, black, golden, and cream color, even orange color is very positive for Taurus ascendant people. And if you observe the unfavorable colors, red color, blue color, and yellow, steel, and smoky gray, any kind of dull color you should not prefer. Even dull coffee color is very bad, very unfavorable for you. The favorable stones, if you talk about pearl, emerald, blue sapphire, and ruby, because ruby represents Sun and blue sapphire represents Saturn, emerald represents Mercury, and pearl represents Moon. So these are the uh, favorable stones because these are the favorable planets. Sun is the primary benefic planet, and so ruby is always good for you, and blue sapphire is very good because Saturn is your Yogakaraka planet, and emerald, the fifth lord Mercury stone, it's very good, and pearl is your moon's stone. That is a very beneficial thing for you guys. And unfavorable stones always red coral, yellow sapphire, diamond, and even hezonite and cat's eye. These represent Rahu and Ketu. Hezonite represents Rahu and cat's eye represent Ketu. Better avoid them. And Jupiter as the lord of the eighth house is not a very auspicious planet for you. It is functionally malefic. So LS sapphire is always avoided. And diamond, it is because a lot of the sixth house Venus stone is diamond, so better avoid that. And red coral is representing the Mars, that is the 12th lord for you guys. So what kind of results planets may show in their subperiods? So let's talk about the kind of results planets may show in their subperiods. So Sun, if you observe Sun is very beneficial for them, and if Sun is very nicely placed, very strongly placed, then you can expect some good results for father, professional success, intellect. You can get some status, social honor, because Sun represents the social honor a person gets, and also the leadership qualities of a person is decided by Sun. The vitality and your properties, mental peace, marriage, everything is decided by Sun for you guys. So if Sun is very nicely placed, you will get all these things very easily. And what about Moon? If Moon is very nicely placed, you will see you will have some good results for your mother, greater mental peace, and the patience. You have a lot of patience you may have because your Moon is, whenever Moon is very stable and strong in anybody's horoscope, right? And if it is not a functionally malefic one, then they may have a lot of patience. Also good financial position. Moon gives a very good financial position because we observed Moon is the representation of your initiatives and intellect. Also gains through investments also decided by Moon for you, and good initiatives and enterprising nature, because third house behavior is that enterprising nature, taking good initiatives, your self efforts, everything is decided by the third house. So if your Moon is very nicely placed, you will see all these good results. And what about Mars? Mars is actually, it represents, if Mars is very, even though it is it is a functionally malefic planet, but still, if your Mars is placed in its Mula Trikona house itself, that is in Aries itself, then it is a bit beneficial. Even though it is functionally malefic, a functionally malefic planet sitting in its own Mula Trikona house is not so much malefic, because it always tries to it is in the duty performing house, so it is going to give something good related to the 12th house, because every house has some positives and negatives. But when a Mula Trikona house lord is present in the Mula Trikona house itself, then it tries to bring the good things about that particular house. So if Mars is present in Aries for you guys, then definitely you will see a lot of courage, energy, agility, and project building capacity in your you may have a lot of guts to do all these things. You may get a lot of happiness from your younger brothers or any brothers, because Mars basically represents, by default, by nature, it represents brother in a male's horoscope mainly. And gains of properties, because Mars by default represents properties, right? Real estate. And the comforts, mental peace, and visiting to foreign lands is very much ensured, because Mars is sitting in Aries for you guys, if it is sitting, right? So, even a functionally malefic planet, when it is sitting in its own Mula Trikona house, then it is going to be beneficial. And let's take Mercury. You may see Mercury is the lord of the fifth house, so it is going to bless you with a lot of analytical capability and gains through investments and birth of very good children and good academic education you may get, because fifth house represents your undergraduation education. So your bachelor degree is going to be excellent if Mercury is very nicely placed. And what about Jupiter? If you talk about Jupiter, it blesses you with happiness through knowledge, because that is the lord of the eighth house. So birth of a son and good health, this is the natural behavior of Jupiter. Jupiter's, see, every planet is having some natural behavior and behavior based on its lordship. So Jupiter's natural behavior is giving you a lot of abundance, growth, comfort in your life, progress in your life, good children in your life, right? So when Jupiter is very nicely placed, let us say Jupiter as 8th lord, it is sitting in the sign of Sagittarius itself, in the Mula Trikona house itself, then you can see it's going to bless you with a lot of knowledge and also birth of a son, because Jupiter represents birth of a son, and good health also. Gains through inheritance, because 8th house represents the ancestral property. Allotments through government and acquisition of knowledge is very much ensured if your Jupiter is very comfortably placed, or if it is placed in the 8th house itself. And if you observe Venus, even though Venus is a functionally malefic planet, if it is sitting in its own house, that is in Libra, it's going to be a bit beneficial. So it's going to bless you with good life resources. Venus is basically it's the abundance. It's the houses, vehicles, very good wife, good celebrations at your home, good ornaments, good cosmetics, and good food that you eat, good bedroom. It's very materialistic in nature, Venus, right? So if this particular Venus is a functionally malefic for you, but still if it is sitting in its own Mula Trikona house, that is in Libra, then also it's a very good thing. It's going to bless you with good life resources, good taste, good health, comforts of life, and good financial resources, good health, good financial capability, and even you get a lot of power to defend. That is the sixth house capacity. If a person is having very strong sixth house, he is going to defend anyone, right? And Saturn, if you observe, it's a Yoga Karaka planet for you. It's going to bless you with good health, successful struggle. So if Saturn is a Yoga Karaka planet, it's going to give you some kind of hardships, but finally you're going to win a lot. You cannot imagine, right? Saturn gives you the correct attitude to win, the correct attitude to lead your life. That is Saturn. Saturn gives you a kind of discipline, that discipline nobody planet can give you that kind of discipline, because Saturn is like that. Saturn teaches you the patience, the way, the approach to win anything in your life. Your attitude, it corrects your attitude. That is Saturn. So it's a very good planet. So good professional competence and success you will see. If your Saturn is very good, it's going to bless you with strength of a very good character, very good physical body even. So Saturn is a Yogakaraka planet for you. Please remember that, right? Saturn, Mercury, Sun. These three are going to play a very vital role. And even the functionally malefic planets like Venus, Jupiter, and Mars, if they are sitting in their own houses, the Mula Trikona houses, then also it's very good. And let's try to understand what if the planets are weak in your horoscope. So you may ask me, what is a weak planet? What is an afflicted planet? So that kind of videos are already available in my channel. If you want, just have a look, right? So the weak planets, if any planet is weak, let us say Sun is weak. When Sun is weak, Sun represents father. Sun represents your status. Sun represents your health, your honor in the society. Everything is Sun. And even Sun represents eyesight. Sun represents your digestion system. So if you have a weak Sun, that is, it's trouble to your parents, your loss of comforts, loss of education, loss of mental peace, weak eyesight, problems in marriage, because it is the Sukhasthana for you. It's the fourth lord, right? So it's weak digestion, vulnerable to heart problem because Sun represents heart. Lack of recognition because Sun represents your recognition, your honor in the society. Your status is Sun. If Sun is bad, then lack of recognition and problems in job also. Because Sun is the natural significator of job, right? By nature, Sun always tries to give a job. If anyone is running Sun's subperiod and Sun is very strongly placed in their horoscope, automatically they get job because Sun is the giver of job. Sun is the significator of job. That is a natural, more natural behavior of Sun. And what about Moon? So Moon is actually, if Moon is weak, then Moon. If any person has a very good Moon, they have they have a lot of mental peace. They have a lot of stability. And especially for Taurus ascendant, it's a lot of the third house. Third house is the representation of your initiatives, your self efforts, your also your enterprising skills and everything. If that Moon is bad, then you may have lack of initiative and courage, because third house also represents courage. It's called as the Vikramasthana, means house of courage. So if Moon is bad, then you have lack of initiative and courage, difficulty in communication, because third house represents communication skills also. And if Moon is very bad, you're very sensitive in nature. Check anybody's horoscope. If Moon is afflicted or Moon is weak, let us say Moon is in 12th house for any guy, or Moon is in 8th house, or Moon is in 6th house, then Moon becomes a bit weaker, then the person becomes more sensitive to the conditions. So the person may not take the hardships in life. He feels very bad when hardship comes. Everybody feels bad, but people can, generally the other people don't shout much. They try to work on it. But when your Moon is very much weaker, that is something like if Moon is in 6, 8, 12 houses, it becomes weaker, and the people may shout when they have some kind of hardships in their life. So that's the main role of Moon. Moon gives you that kind of stability and mental peace. If Moon is not very good, then you have a lack of mental peace. You become oversensitive. You become very introvert in nature. Basically, you are right. So that kind of things may happen. And also Moon is the representation of the third house for you guys, that is the Taurus ascendant guys. So if Moon is weak, you may have some respiratory diseases and kind of retarded growth also. In generally, if Moon is weak, the people's growth, the person's growth is a bit retarded. Means it's not so very easily grown kind of thing, but kind of retarded growth you can observe in some somewhere, uh, right? And what about Mars? If Mars is a bit weaker, what happens? Then Mars represents basically it's the immunity you have, right? So if Mars is weak, then you have weak immunization system, troubled marital life, disturbed sleep, problem in foreign lands, because 12th house, the problems in marital life is because of the 12th house, right? Because it's the lord of the 12th house. If Mars is not good, then as a lord of 12th house, it's going to spoil your marriage life also. So you may ask, what houses are responsible for marriage life? So the houses that are responsible for marriage life are second house, the fourth house, the seventh house, eighth house, and the 12th house. A second house represents your family, your whole family, your father, mother, everything. And that is the second house. Your father, mother, your spouse, your children, your brothers, your sisters, and everything is family. That is the second house. So if second house is afflicted, you may have problems from somewhere, and your marriage life may be disturbed. And the fourth house is mainly the domestic marriage life that you have, right? So that is also the Sukhasthana. So obviously, if fourth house is afflicted, you may have problems in your marriage life. Seventh house is the direct house. You can say it's the legal marriage house and also the relationships house. So if seventh house is disturbed, then also marriage life is disturbed. Eighth house mainly represents the strength of the bonding with your spouse. So if your eighth house is not so good, if eighth house lord is severely afflicted, then you may have divorce also. And the 12th house is the measurement of happiness you get from your spouse. How much happiness you actually get from your spouse. If you observe the Parashara Horasastra, they clearly mention 12th house represents the happiness that you get from your spouse. So if 12th house is disturbed, then you may have very much unsatisfied things from your spouse, right? So that's why if weak Mars is present, if Mars is weak for Taurus ascendants, which is the lord of the 12th house, they may have some troubled marital life. And 12th house also rules the matters of sleep. So if 12th house lord is disturbed, then they may have some disturbed sleep. And problems in foreign lands is also there if Mars is afflicted. Mars is very much disturbed somewhere, right? And health problems relating to infections, because 12th house is also ruling that kind of stuff. Jupiter, if you observe, Jupiter is the lord of the 8th house. So if Jupiter is severely afflicted, if Jupiter is already functionally malefic, and if any other uh, if this particular Jupiter is afflicted by any other functional malefic planet, and if it's having very less strength, if it is weaker, you can say you are vulnerable to diseases born out of liver malfunctioning mainly. You know, the financial setbacks to father and troubles in marriage, instance of obstructions in life and loss of inheritance is also possible if Jupiter is not very nicely placed in your horoscope, right? So you need to perform some propitiations for sure if Jupiter is very bad in your horoscope. Jupiter is already functionally malefic. If it is even more afflicted, if it is even more weaker, then definitely you need to perform some propitiations. What about Venus? Venus is vulnerable to your health problems because Venus is a lot of the sixth house. The sixth house is a Mula Trikona house, that is the Libra. So obviously, if Venus is even more weaker, then you may have a lot of health issues relating to constipation, acidity, and stress mainly. Vulnerable to problems arising out of conflicts and debts because it's the lord of the sixth house. Sixth house represents diseases, debts, and enemies. So problems in relationships also ensured because the natural behavior of Venus is giving you a lot of relationships. If that particular Venus is even more afflicted, then your relationships are also disturbed, you can say. And Mercury is the lord of the fifth house for you, and also it represents your undergraduation education. Fifth house is the creativity. Fifth house is house of romance, right? And fifth house is a kind of you can say um, a kind of it represents your dharma related activities also a bit, and the kind of solutions you may provide to someone, that is also you can see, right, some consultancies or suggestion giving companies or such kind of things also, that kind of energy also related to your fifth house. So fifth house is actually, if it is bad, it's of course it's the house of your children, house of your progeny, right? So if fifth lord is afflicted somewhere, then you may get some unhappiness by your progeny, you can say, and digestion problems, because fifth house rules the digestion related stuff as well. The nervousness, the nervous related problems, because Mercury by nature is related to the nerves and everything. So if Mercury is even more afflicted, then you may have some kind of nervous diseases, right? So problems in studies and losses in speculation is also possible, because fifth house represents your undergraduation, and if fifth lord Mercury is afflicted for Taurus ascendants, they may have some delays or some breaks in their undergraduation. And fifth house also represents the creativity, the solution giving nature, the consultancy kind of nature, and also you speculate, right, in the share market, this is going to happen or that is going to happen. That kind of speculation is also it also falls in fifth house. So if your Mercury is bad, then you can clearly understand, you may not speculate much, your speculations may go wrong, and you may lose in share market as well. So that's a very important thing for you guys. If Mercury is very much afflicted, you need to perform some remedies, right? They are called as remedies, not propitiations. Okay, for this one, because Mercury is by default functionally benefic for you. It's not functionally malefic. If it is a functionally malefic one, any planet is functional. If it is functionally malefic, you need to perform propitiations. And if any planet is functionally benefic and it is weak, then you need to perform some remedies, right? Okay. And Saturn, what about Saturn? Saturn is a Yogakaraka planet for you guys. It is going to decide your profession and everything, right? All the 10th house matters. 10th house is also is going to give you some kind of status in your life. It's going to give you some kind of authority in your life. So such kind of Saturn, if it is weak in your horoscope, then the Taurus ascendant people, they are vulnerable to joint pains, and also their profession is not so good, ordinary and troubled profession you may see, and lack of happiness through male progeny, because the happiness that you see from male progeny is also it's indicated by this particular 10th lord here, the Saturn, right? So there are some remedies and propitiations you can perform for anything, for any problem in your horoscope. Please feel free to contact me. I am providing my email ID in the description box. Thanks for watching my video. We'll meet in our next video.